Okay, today's stories are an absolute roller coaster, so buckle up. First, a husband tells his wife she has to take in his niece or the marriage is over, and now all their friends are turning on him. Then, a woman gets accused of playing favorites with her sister's kids, and wait until you hear what her in-laws actually want from her. And finally, a woman who just wanted a sewing buddy gets roped into the most ridiculous freeloading scheme you've ever heard. Oh, you're not ready for these. Let's get into it. First up, a husband draws a line in the sand over his niece and watches his entire friend group turn against him. I found out my sister and her husband are abusing my niece. I knew they weren't great parents, but I didn't realize how bad it was. She isn't perfect and can misbehave, but I love my niece and do not think I could live with myself if I chose to ignore her or abandon her to the system. I want to help get her out of her situation and take her in. So I spoke to my wife about the sudden circumstances and how I felt. She tried to argue that we shouldn't/couldn't, but I made it clear that taking her in was non-negotiable for me, and that if she wasn't willing, our relationship would be over. While I understood if she isn't able to do this with me, it means I fundamentally cannot continue our relationship. She hasn't taken it well, and I understand that it hurts from her perspective. But I'd rather have a tighter budget than abandon her. Yes, she can misbehave, but it's not her fault she was in an abuse situation. With proper help, a safe home, and love, she'll learn to be better. At the end of the day, she's family. I love my niece almost as much as my daughter. I know if we died, I'd want her family to step in and raise our daughter, not just condemn her to the system too. To me, sometimes you just have differences you cannot reconcile. While she feels it's unfair and I'm being manipulative and controlling, at the end of the day, I have a line I cannot cross. While I'm sad we can't work it out, and I'm happy to try counseling or whatever, this is not something I will budge on, and I've made that clear. I thought that I was just making a difficult choice. But almost all our friends have been against me, telling me it's horrible to give an ultimatum like that I can't just abandon my marriage/wife/daughter. Split custody is a thing. Divorce isn't abandoning your child. That I'm being cruel or will regret it. I thought it was fair, but so many friends I trust telling me otherwise is having me start to doubt myself. Is it really that wrong of me? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "How old is your niece? What kind of misbehaving are we talking about?" Another commenter said, "Op has made at least 2 comments admitting the niece is already living in his house temporarily. He wants to make it permanent. So his wife and all his friends have seen how it is going already and are against it. This one is genuinely tough, and honestly, the internet couldn't agree on it either. His heart is clearly in the right place, but everyone who actually knows him is sounding the alarm. Sometimes the people closest to you see something you can't. The jury's still out on this one. So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below." Next up, a woman gets guilt-tripped for being closer to her sister's kids, where her in-laws have never lifted a finger for her. I've always been much closer to my sister and her kids. She had children first. She consistently made an effort with me and my husband, and she's always invited us over or made time to see us whenever we visit my parents. Because of that, it felt natural to be excited about her kids, to babysit, to be involved, and to accept being their godparents. I tend to invite her kids over for sleepovers with us and plan shared activities for their birthday gifts. On the other hand, my husband's brother and his wife have never really tried to build a relationship with us. They don't invite us over, other than one time for our engagement, but it felt very forced by my mother-in-law. They don't reach out, and the only time we see them is at the family cottage, which is more about shared space than actual effort. They're much closer with her brother and his wife, even though we are always the ones helping them move or get their boat in, etc. Now that they have a child, I'm polite, supportive, and I ask about the baby when we're around, but we just aren't close. My in-laws have noticed that I spend more time with my sister's kids, and they've made comments about wanting me around more. I've already stepped back from the family a bit because it's emotionally draining. Everything is always about how hard things are for my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, and my mother-in-law has overstepped boundaries before with my husband and I. A monthly visit is honestly what I can handle. They also keep hinting about how their child will want to do activities with us when he's older, but it feels unfair to expect me to plan experiences and outings when they've never put in the effort to build a relationship in the first place. I'm happy to be kind and cordial with their child, but the natural bond just isn't there the way it is with my sister's family. I'm also happy to gift them experiences for their birthdays, but don't feel like I need to attend and they can just go with my in-laws or as a family. Am I the asshole for not forcing a closer relationship or planning future activities with my brother-in-law/sister-in-law's child? I am happy to attend events if they plan and invite us, but I just don't feel like I should be the one planning these events. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "No, sounds like they want to get stuff out of you, not actually have a relationship with you. I just ignore them." Another commenter said, "That was my thought also, free time away from their kid. Sorry, just because you're related doesn't mean you have to bring them into your life fully and make everything equal. Some relationships just flow, others not so much. Yeah, no. You cannot ignore someone for years and then demand a deep bond the second it's convenient for you. Relationships are built, not owed, and she's done nothing wrong here. Not the asshole." If you're enjoying these stories so far, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more. And finally, a self-taught seamstress gets ambushed with the most audacious request for free labor. I, F30S, am friends with a couple. Well, I'm more so with a wife, F30S, rather than the husband, M40S. At best, he's relatively apathetic about me, and our interactions are generally minimal. Overall, he seems pretty uninterested in getting to know me, which is totally fine. No one is for everyone. I've gotten really good at sewing over the past few years. I sew clothes and costumes for personal use. I'm purely self-taught and use a lot of YouTube University and online forums to teach myself and improve my craft. One night we were all hanging out, and I was talking about sewing, and he mentioned he also is into sewing and clothing construction. I was excited because it's not often I meet people in my area who's into sewing as a hobby. Since then, my friend, his wife, keeps asking me to do a hobby day at their place. She loves to read, so she'll do that the whole time, and she wants that I bring over my sewing machine so I can sew with her husband. The issue is that the husband has had a sewing machine since 2020 and has never pulled it out of the box. She wants me to walk him through and teach him the fundamentals. I've mentioned several times that I recommend he invest in a pattern, some scrap fabric, and just pull the machine out on his own time to play around. She's insisting that he needs to body double. I don't know exactly what this means, but I assume it has to do with having somewhere there to show him the ropes. He won't help himself at all. She's basically asking for free lessons disguised as a hobby day, where she reads on the couch and I teach her husband everything I know about sewing and to use my materials since he hasn't invested in any yet. He won't help himself at all and, in general, doesn't like me very much outside of the fact he wants to leverage my knowledge on the topic. Am I the asshole for not wanting to give him free lessons? ETA, he does not have ADHD, I've asked. He is an educated STEM worker. My friend, his wife, is a therapist and tends to use therapy speak a lot in regular conversations. I've shared resources relating to materials and a variety of YouTube resources / online forums / tutorials for him to get started. From what I know, he's leveraged none of them. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "I am confused. How is he into sewing and clothing construction, but doesn't know how to sew at all?" Another commenter said, "This is my take too. I think he's into the idea of sewing, but doesn't want to actually put in the work to learn. From what I can tell, he's more of a dreamer than a doer. A guy who's owned a sewing machine since 2020 and never opened the box does not get to monopolize your time and your materials. She owes him absolutely nothing, and her instincts are spot on. NTA all day. Not the asshole." If you want to hear stories from different subreddits, let me know down in the comments. And that's a wrap on today's stories. But I need to know what you think. Was that husband right to draw his line, or did he go too far? Was the seamstress too harsh? Drop your verdicts down in the comments. I read every single one. If you made it this far, you're my kind of person, so stick around, because I got even more rage-inducing stories coming your way. See you in the next one.